Hi everyone and welcome to the Late Drop presented by Future Fins. Future Fins is the fins you can trust from 2 feet to 20 feet. Today's guest has been a big part of the 4-fin revolution on big wave guns and towboards, and that guest is Nathan Fletcher. Nathan Fletcher needs no introduction. He comes from surfing royalty. He's one of the best surfers from 2 feet to 20 feet of all time. His family needs no introduction. Nathan's just a badass, super intelligent guy, and I had a great time chatting with him. So I hope you enjoyed the episode.
I always get the first wave.
Pretty much, it brought me to tears. Like, the wave was so good.
That's the biggest drop I've ever taken in my life.
And so right there, I told myself I needed to just relax and stay calm, that I'm stronger than this.
I was going to say, it seems like your dad was a real innovator, like a real thinker, like sort of thought, was thinking outside the box, like Astro Deck's the first traction that was ever made. And then even with his, I think with the whole jet ski thing, with him doing the, going to pipe and towing in pots at secondary pipe and all that stuff, like he was sort of like ahead of the game a little bit,
Well, he also got Teahupoo, his first jet ski, to rescue people. So he started that too. And so when they did the first save, they called my dad and said, thank you so much, blah, blah. But anyways, all that being said, yes, my dad is an innovator. But the true great part, what I can remember about my childhood, was him loving surfing, loving the ocean, loving skateboarding and innovating and skiing and snowboarding, and being passionate enough to go do it, but also took us to go do it too. And so in those times, nobody really did that. And so I grew up very fortunate. I grew up a very different life. And then when I was in 6th grade, 7th grade, I got taken out of school because my parents didn't like the way the schooling was and what they were trying to conform us into be. And so, they just said, well, you're going to figure it out. It's time to surf, travel, skateboard, jets, whatever, go do all the stuff that you do. And, it's not about being in a high school setting where you're being told how to think in a confined box. And then you get resentful towards, humans and the whole deal. So basically, they let me do my thing from a very young age and let me figure it out, and kind of supported me to go along, to go on snowboard trips or do this. They would buy the gas and do this, and then I'd have to do something, and I could get the equipment for free. But they would always have an incentive in there for me to be able to go. And that was the difference. And now you see it a lot in modern day parenting, and it's normal. But we're talking 50 years ago when my brother was a kid, 40, 45, 30 years ago, 25 years ago. So I got to say that growing up as a Fletcher was different. It was super unique. It wasn't as easy as what you would think, as what people, this and that. It was way better and way more loving than anybody could even know, because a lot of people think, this and that. But, because my brother, whatever people perceive things as. But truly in our family, it was nothing but love from my parents to each other. They always stood by us. My dad's still with my mom. They've been together since they've been 15 and 16 years old. Once my dad quit drinking and doing drugs and alcohol when I was 5 and my brother was 10, he changed his life, turned vegetarian. So I grew up as a vegetarian from 5 years old all the way. My parents still are like that. It was just it was a very alternative lifestyle a long time ago. And so now it's common where you see these people act like this. But in the 80s, when the Rolling Stones and, it's the middle of heavy metal, Tupperware, microwaves, all those things. So, in the middle of all that, to really change who you were as parents, to show your children, I remember it was a drastic change at one point when I was a kid, but now that I look at it, it was they actually just were so young when they had us, because my parents were 19 and 20 when they had my brother, 24 and 25 when they had me. So figure when I was 5, they were 30. So they got to know themselves, got comfortable, got off alcohol, got solid. And so from 5, my whole life changed, and it was great.
Yeah, I
made
want
them
to go
strong.
back to, yeah, it's awesome. I want to go back to like, because obviously like you're some sort of prodigy growing up, right? You have this ability to do all these things, going snowboard trips, your skateboarding. I know that you love your motocross, add the surfing into that. And then like now you have your own kids, like, and it's like,
Like,
are you raising your kids? Because I've seen your kids at the skate park and they're off the charts, right? Off the charts. They've got the Fletcher jeans. It's easy to see. Now, when you were growing up, did you feel that pressure because you were away from school and you were that family, and then all of a sudden you're not going to school? Is there some sort of pressure that you feel internally that maybe you're not portraying to the family, that you're just feeling that sort of that you now see how that was for you, and the way that now you've got to deal with what your kids are doing? I wonder what the reflection is on that.
you know what the reflection is? Was as soon as I felt pressure, I would quit. So if I because I quit surfing at like 14 or 15 years old, all the way till I only surfed maybe once or twice a year till I was 20, because I skateboarded a bunch. But when I skated every day or every other, you know what I mean? And then, but first it was like snowboarding, and then led into skateboarding because I was near home. So for a while I was traveling around, driving places, snowboarding, and it was because snowboarding was new and it was fresh, and it was like the music was new, the scene was new, the people were new, and so it was thriving. And so I gravitated towards it. I have no connections or no hang-ups to stay with one thing. For me, I feel like I love to learn things, and once I become good, or I have self-expectations, I usually just quit all out and then go to something else and then come back to it once I can enjoy it and have no expectations, because that's just how I am. And so growing up, like my dad would tell me I had to surf or something, and I quit surfing for years. And then I was like, oh, you got to do this. Oh, you got to work at Astrodeck. Oh, you know what I mean? And I blew every one of those things off. And each time it would be like, oh, I got to do this. Well, I'm going to go do that. I'm not doing that then. Oh, I got to do this. No, I got to, you're married, all this and that. Blow everything off. And then just kind of found my way by doing the best I could for what I knew with what my parents gave me. And so if my kids feel it, I'm sure they're going to feel pressure, but all it is you wanting them to do good. All my dad wanted was me to have fun and do good and be able to love the life that I live and get paid to live it. So you can't really blame them, right? And you got to be stupid not to see it. So you might not realize it till you're 25 or 22 or something, until you pack boxes at a real job and you're standing next to a bunch of other guys that don't have no opportunity and they're working to go home and get yelled at, whatever. And then you realize, oh, all I got, because I remember the day that I went surfing, I was all, if I go surfing twice a day, I don't care how good or bad it is, I'm going to make this much money. And I don't even make that at Astrodeck or whatever. And so I'm all, it's nothing. I just go in the water twice, boom, bam. And then something's going to come from that. So I'm like, you'd have to be stupid to not recognize it. So I know my brother has a hard times with some things, and everybody has hard times, or hard, obviously it's hard growing up. It's hard to see what you have until you lose it, right?
Yeah. And I think those expectations too, sometimes that, I think, growing up as a kid, I did as well. I think sometimes you look at what your parents' expectations are of you, and you sort of manifest that into that whole, son-father relationship, where you probably oversee it, you overlook it, you overthink it, and then you get to be 40 plus, and that you look back and you go, wow, they were actually right, or they had the expectation. Yeah, and but at the time it's like, Dad, I mean, fuck off, you know what I mean? Like, leave me alone. Like, I want to do my own thing, or vice versa. And then also you had to follow in the footsteps of Christian, and there's those expectations as well, right? Older brother, super famous, talented, blah blah blah. So that, and then it's the expectations that you're putting on yourself more than that anyone else is putting on you, and then that's when people just walk away, because I can't handle it. It's like freaking me out. I can't handle it. I'm going to go somewhere else where there are maybe not as much expectations, And then when you're maybe old enough to mentally distill that and understand what it is, you come back to what that was, you know?
And see, where I learned that was in motocross, and why I gravitated to motocross was because, well, for one, jumping, going fast and going big and the adrenaline. But two, when you race, there's no rules. And then you put a helmet on, right? And so you have all gear. So you don't know the 20 guys next to you, and they don't know you, and they don't care who you are. You're just part of the track, and they're part of the track. And so there's something to say for that. You're not in a surf con, you're racing. There's a start and a finish, and it's just dog eat dog. And so I just love that feeling, even though I'm a novice or whatever, beginner. It's just something about that thrill on the line. Rah, rah. And then there's no gray area. This guy won, you got second. It's not like the judge likes this. And so, because I dealt with that so much in my life, because you're Christian's brother, but then my own self-expectations are so much more than anybody could put on me. So in motocross, that was the real thrill, was I could get all the thrill in my heart with nobody even knowing who I am, what's happening, or anything, And then when I came back to surfing, I was like, I'm falling in water. All of these people, it was just so nice. And it was like so refreshing, because it's just, I am a surfer, but I needed to go away and be absent from it and just really be able to break something real easy and get to know fear, and then be able to bring that back into surfing and understand it, because I know that with all my heart, and then put that same sort of mentality, because in motocross, guys break both of their legs. Both femurs will be broken, and they're going to be racing in 2 months, guaranteed. Like, not even a question. Where surfing, you get hurt, it could end your career. It's just a different mentality, And so it's kind of interesting, but it made me truly love it, and brought me back. So those are all little steps that just make you the strongest, best waterman you could be, because you've done other things, you've known I just don't feel like I would know as much as I could if I don't experience the dirt, the cement, the ocean. You know what I mean? And,
and you're exploring. They're all board. Most of them are board sports, with the snowboarding and skateboarding. So they're looking, and I'm sure that those sports, 100% have molded you into who you are today as a surfer. Like the moves that you do and all that. So that's a beautiful thing to have. I'm 44 in January. I've never snowboarded, never seen the surf, never seen the snow in my life. It's crazy. And
paddled the Niger.
but then I feel like, and then the motocross for you too, like got you into that mindset. Obviously, if I was to think of Nathan Fletcher growing up, I'm pretty sure he didn't have much fear. Like I see your sons at the skate park, doing big half pipes and stuff already at a young age.
You know what though? It's different, because I am very fearful and I'm very cautious. Like growing up, my brother was never like that. My brother would get on a motorcycle and go full blast right away. Me, I wouldn't get out of second gear for 2 months. But once I learn how to do it, I build myself up and I learn and learn and learn. And then once I'm capable, then I put myself, and then I test my limits. Where my brother, he doesn't know how to do it, and he just gets on and tests his limits. But then you hurt yourself and you don't even ever have any fun, because it's, you know what I mean? So for me, I try, and now, I could skateboard proficiently. I'm not great, but I could ride a skateboard. I could have fun. I could snowboard. It's not like I'm great, but I could go to the mountain and ride with people and enjoy it. And I could go ride motorcycles. And so my point is, I got good or pretty good at one point at all of them, but now I get to enjoy them all. And the biggest thing that I didn't even know was I get to take my kids and go do all those different things with them, but share it from an experienced point of view. So it's like you understand what the dangers are, what the how to gear them up, do all of it so they can enjoy it, so they can learn it and have fun. Not to be the best in the world, not to be better than anybody, but just to be able to enjoy your day, have fun, be healthy and strong. And that's kind of really all. And be safe. That's really all. It's not about anything more than just having fun and exploring who you are. And now I get to pass it on. So I didn't even realize that was going to be such a joy of mine, was being able to share, because I love those things. Those are my passion. But now to show my kids, oh, skateboarding. I don't even like to go to the skate park. And I sit there for hours and watch them skate. And like even motorcycle, you know what I mean? It's like, I didn't really want to ride a motorcycle. Now I'm 45. I don't want to get hurt, but I have to because I got to go show my kids and make sure they don't fly off jumps and gear everything. And so you can't just sit there. You got to go do it with them so they listen to you too.
Yeah.
Once you air them, then they're okay.
So that's going to get me to your next question, because I remember in 1998 the Gotcha Pro, and there's a backstory to that, you know, and I think there's a perfect getting into that, because you had talked about quitting surfing. You'd surfed just a handful of times, and then this Gotcha Pro came up. It's the first, I think it was the first pro event in Tahiti at Chopes, and
it was,
and you were in
second one.
Sorry, second one.
It was
okay.
When the first one was really small though.
Yeah. So first real one where it was, you know, and you answered, and then long story short, you went out and I think you got a couple of 10s in a round of 32 or something like that, and you were going through a rough time personally. I think you had a wife at the time, and things were rough, and you had $600 to your mind, and I think I read somewhere, I was doing some research, and you had $600 in the bank. Your life like was just not in a good place, and you go to Chopes into this event and just go, hey, if I make a few heats here, I'm going to be a pro surfer style thing, right? It. And then take it away from there, because you obviously know better than I do.
Well, my parents didn't want me to go, and because I worked at Astrodeck packing boxes, like I was saying before, and I was married. But anyways, they said if I went, that I was cut off, no more. They weren't going to pay me anymore, and I owned a house in my name, so was going to get rid of the house. Anyways, I told myself, okay, I'm going. I don't even care, because the reason I got invited was I rode for Gotcha Europe, a guy, Kenny Jacobs, and it was because they were just starting to do motocross stuff in Europe. So Gotcha Europe sponsored me. Well, it just so happens Gotcha Europe was going to put on this Tahiti contest, so they offered me a chance to go, and I'd been surfing. And I'd done a couple of the new air shows, and I'd been surfing a lot, and I just kind of was riding a little bit. But anyways, I got the opportunity to go, and I was like, you know what? I'm going. And if I make it through the second round of the trials, I'm going to quit all that and just be a pro surfer. But if I lose in the first heat, I'm going to go home and try and make it all better. And so I forget, I did have like $600, and I went for a month. Well, to get in the contest, it cost $1,000, right? To pay ASP entry, and then it cost me $1,000 for my stay. So Gotcha paid for 2 weeks, and then Gotcha paid for 2 weeks, but then I had to figure out how to pay for it too, and so it was like $800 or whatever. Anyways, ended up winning, or made it to the main event. Got into the second round of the main event, if that's the round of 32. The waves got bigger than people had seen at Chopo, except for the locals. Nobody had seen a toe, and the fishermen would talk about these swells and stuff, but nobody had really seen it. Anyways, the waves were just getting bigger every set. And so I had 2 boards, a 6.5 and a 7.5. And I went out, and whatever, I rode the 7.5, and 4 guys. I was the last in position. The first set that came was the biggest set of the contest, and everybody's screaming, go, go, go. But nobody was turning around to go. And I realized none of these guys are even going, and I'm on this thing. And I turned around and went and took off, and it was the biggest, best barrel I've ever had at the time. Took off and got the barrel of my life, spit out into the channel right when the heat starts. And I was like, wow, that was insane. Paddle back out, and I'm the last in position. I'm sitting there just tripping because I don't even know. I think they might have announced a score or something. I found out, a 10, right? But I was like, only Slater and Rob Machado get 10s. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't get 10s. Boom. Another bit coming. And I'm like, oh, somebody's going. Nobody wants it again. And it's, a couple different people. But they don't want the wave again. And so I'm, well, they're not going. And I whip it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going. I'm either going to get the beating of my life or the wave of my life. And just didn't care. I might get that second. But when I thought about all that stuff, all of a sudden I was in the lip. And I was kind of late. So I was hung up. And I was also last in position. So I was kind of in the West Bowl a little bit more than everybody. Well, I kind of free fell out of control. And then, boom, caught my rail at the bottom. and then stood up and looked and was in a bigger, better, deeper one, or not maybe deeper, but then I put my arms out, poof, got spit into the channel, and I got tens again right there. And when I kicked out of that wave, I just knew my life had changed. It was just right there. It was just, and so right there, Gotcha America sponsored me. I lost the house and the wife, started getting paid, moved into my van, and just certainly just did a full 180, and then I just had to keep working it from there. Because Gotcha, then to Quicksilver to analog to Vans. But pretty much the whole time I've rode for Vans too, because right in that same year, 98, 99, I got sponsored for the air shows because Vans started to do the surfing air show series, and they've sponsored 5 guys, and it was Jason Jesse who did it, and it was Rat Boy, Flea, my brother, me, and who was it? Rat Boy, Flea, and Barney, and me and my brother.
Wow. And
so all in that time, there was just stuff was happening. So I got sponsored by Vans, and then I don't know. It all happened, and then whatever, just trying to keep it going. Right now, talking to
yeah, it's crazy, right? It's funny, like in surfing, how they say one wave can like make a career. It's like you can just be in that certain moment or time, and just that one wave comes at that certain spot, and you just all of a sudden it's like, here's sponsorship, here's money, here's this and that, here's that and that, and just from one wave. It's crazy.
You got to keep it up.
You do have to keep it up. Yeah, it kickstarts, right? It gives you a chance to kickstart it, but you've got to then move on with it and make the rest of the opportunities happen.
As they say, easy come, easy go. So
easy come, easy go. That's right. And so where did I'm not even going to say big waves, like when did the heavy water, when did that sort of transition start to happen for you? Because obviously, you're surfing, coming to Hawaii, you're surfing pipe and stuff all the time. So you're surfing heavy water, but I'm wondering when your mindset clicked into hey, I might chase some swells, I might do this, I might do that.
You know what? It never clicked into that at all. My whole thing was I just wanted to surf so much because I was like, oh, I don't care if I'm getting paid to surf. I'm going to surf if it's 2 feet or 20 feet or 50 feet. It just doesn't matter. Yep. I'm going surfing. I love it. It's feeding me and it's giving me my life. So I'm going to give my life to it. I don't even care. And so with the internet, I got to say, we used to go on surf trips, and you'd go to Tavarua for a week, maybe a swell, maybe not. Go Puerto Escondido for 2 weeks, maybe a swell, maybe not. But now with surf forecasting, and you're say 30, 35 years old, you're at the height of your surf career, surf forecasting is as good as it gets. So every week you're just watching, and it's like, oh, boop, Fiji's going to go off, got to go, boom. So you don't go to Fiji anymore for a week and stay. You go there for 4 days, but it's only on the biggest, best 4 days of the year, because why would you do anything else? You'd have to be stupid to be like you were before. So then it ends up you go to only the best spots on the best days of the year. And those best spots on the best day of the year just seem to be the biggest, gnarliest, best waves in the world.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, with things like Surfline and Magic Seaweed and stuff, it's made it, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but whatever, Sean Collins, it is a great thing, and it's with the safety, right? It's people is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Hey, people aren't doing motocross without helmets and without pads, right? People aren't driving cars without their, so it's sort of it's just a natural evolution, that's keeping us safe and pushing the limits.
Yeah, it's a must. If you look at a race car driver, they won't get in a car without a fire suit. You know what I mean? Travis Pastrana guys, it's you got to be dumb. So the biggest thing right now is the technology with the helmet and getting the helmet up to speed with the wipeouts and the rest of the equipment. That's because
you were definitely a pioneer with helmets, right? certain waves, like shallow, like you did you like wearing the helmet, or is this something that you wanted to mean? Because there are certain guys, right? Like Tommy Carroll wore a gaffet pipe, right? And then you have there's just certain people that wore helmets, you know.
Okay, so here's what I did. I called Tom Carroll and I asked him, "What's the deal with the helmet? You know, you're the best, gnarliest dude. Why do you wear a helmet at pipe? Why don't you wear it at other place? You know, because I want to know. I want to be safe." And he's all, "Nathan, I'm gonna tell you." He's all, "When you're really going your hardest and you're surfing at Pipeline, which is the heaviest wave, one of the heaviest waves in the world, and you're putting it online, all you're trying to do is avoid being in that one spot. Because there's one spot out there all the time that can kill you or hurt you really bad on the wave, right? And you're just trying to avoid it. But when you're really going for it, some point you're going to be in that one spot. You know what I mean? You just can't avoid it all the time. So when you get into that one spot, you're going to want your helmet on.
Yeah.
So he's all the rest of it, it doesn't even matter. It's just, you know, whatever. He's all, but when you're really giving it and you get into the one spot, then you're going to be praying you have your helmet on. So it's not about how it looks. It's not about even anything. It's just about when you're really giving it your all and really trying your hardest, you're not even thinking, you're just doing it. And when you're just doing it, you know, you can get hurt. I know 10 people around the area that you could talk to with metal plates in their heads, or, you know, did this or saved this. Everybody around here, you know, pipeline stories. You go talk to 10 people, they'll all tell you a different pipeline story. Chris Owens, EO, Cole, every one of them. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like they all got dents. They've all drowned out there.
Well, lucky, you know, like I think they all hit hard, but the most recent obviously was Cole, and he's just had 2 beautiful kids and his young, you know, dad, and it's just like, and you just think of how bad that could have been, you know, how that could have been flipped over. He mightn't even be able to even understand what's going on. Could be a vegetable, or not even with us. You know what I mean? About Dustin?
Dustin Kane, he was so bad. You know what I mean? There's a whole line of them, but it's just about coming together, evolving as humans with the sport and making it better so we could all do it and have fun. If something happens, so be it. But if you don't try to better it, you're stupid, is my point.
Yeah. So I know you said you just sort of like, you know, you just go like, I'm going to go surf 2 to 20 feet. And then, you know, obviously your dad was, you know, at the start of the jet ski thing. And like you said, he, you know, got Terry his first, the Hawaiian Water Patrol, Teahupoo, his first ski. Like, did you, you know, there's those waves or that a standout session, whether it was towing or, you know, do you remember that the first time you went to that next level, like for just not like paddle, not at pipe or something like that, where it was like you went and just went, holy shit, like this is on another level than what I'm used to.
Yeah, we surfed right down the street from Waimea Bay on a big 30-foot north swell, and it was tow-ins, and it was Shane Dorian and Larry Haynes were towing each other in, a couple Brazilian guys, and then Hank was shooting photos, and he had an old ski, and my dad actually towed me into a couple waves. But these waves were so big with such big, long walls like J Bay. It was like, you know, coming from snowboarding and skating and surfing and all, and just whatever, being strapped to your surfboard and riding these walls, I realized that there was a whole nother level. And so I towed around on the outer reefs on the North Shore for a couple of years until I realized that I didn't like dealing with a tow team. And so then it was like I let those guys tow, and then I would paddle out. So at least I knew those guys would be surfing, or I would get towed out by Hank while him and Troy and those guys would tow, and then I would just paddle. And that's when I realized, you know, that surfing the outer reefs was much more surfable than what I thought, because I had never even been out there. And it was until I got out there on a jet ski and got pounded and drove around and saw it. And then I realized, wow, you could surf it. And then I surfed on smaller days on a smaller board because I didn't have the equipment. And so it was 98 was the year definitely that my mind was blown.
That was Condition Black, right? That was that day, because I just had I had Ross
Yep.
Clark on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he was just telling a crazy story about that day at the outer reef out there where him and Tony Ray got stuck out at sea and
I was saying, I watched
crazy.
thing. I wouldn't go out. I watched those guys. Milton and Michael Willis came in over the reef at rock piles, and Troy Lotus pulled in with no hands like it was a 6-foot wave, but it was like, and then Aaron Lambert and Briley and Noah Johnson. But the other thing I did was rode down to Waimea Bay on my bike and watched Eric Haas jump in the water. And not Eric Haas, excuse me, Red Wings was trying to body surf, and Jason Majors, when Jason Majors paddled out and made it out, and then he almost caught the wave, and he got feathered out the back. And the next one was a huge left coming from the middle, like a 30-foot doubling up closeout, and everybody was just like, oh, and it just steamrolled him, and then it almost drowned, and he got arrested on the beach right there.
That was that same story, right? Is it that photo, that famous photo of him where he's jumping off his board? Like that's it, right?
Yeah. Because we were at log cabins at Keiki at Ethan's house, and then we'd ride our bikes down to Waimea to see what was happening, and then ride back it was like insane. Yeah. But I was too scared to go in the water that day. I was like, no way. I didn't even know what was happening.
Yeah.
It was
because there was a shift from towing, to paddling, obviously, but I feel like you had sort of made that decision, a little bit even earlier than, down the track. Once you saw the outer reefs, you're like, hey, we can do this. We can do this paddling, and
the main thing I think for me too was because I brought a wakeboard life vest, an impact vest to tow, and everybody laughed at me and thought it was funny. And it was that 98 year. And then it was ironic that they all had life vest towing the next year. But the next year after that, I started wearing a life vest paddling because I was going out there by myself, and those guys were all towing in. And so I just said, okay, I'm going to wear a life vest paddling. And so I definitely know that nobody was really doing that. Maybe Garrett was cutting up boogie boards and putting them in his wetsuit. But definitely being out there alone in those times is different than now, because I feel like now it's almost calmer and safer. Much more eyes are on it. Much more people around. You have blow-up suits, impact vests, all of that. And so with all that, the boundaries are going to be pushed such greater levels, right? And
for sure.
So for me, I just want to be around now just to see what's happening and just see what people do, because I feel like with like what you said, like, bringing it to these levels and watching these levels and feeling these levels change for myself. The next stage is all you can do is sit back and watch the kids go to new levels. And you're actually part of that because you helped them evolve to that. You helped with the safety, you helped with the equipment. And so it's actually it's a good feeling to be able to watch other people do things and actually get a sense of gratification from other people even doing it.
Yeah.
What
was it? What was it? What was it like out there by yourself in those years? And then what did you, any like heavy situations, like being out there by yourself? Did you make sure there was jet skis out there, like when you were out there at times? I'm sure that you started just to venture out without the jet skis too, right?
No, I would always make sure I would go out with a jet ski with me and Hank, but he would have a tow partner. And so it'd be like I would get towed out and they would tow. And sometimes he would shoot photos. But I wasn't just out there like stupidly. And now another thing, a lot of people only surfed out there if they could paddle and do all this. And so for me, I think a lot of people laughed at me and thought I was cheating because I would get a ride out and then I would have a life vest on and I would have a bright yellow board and 4 fins. And so they were like, oh, look at this guy. But I was just trying to have fun and do my best to enjoy the ride, And I felt like I did that. And I feel like, I wasn't out there like recklessly. I don't feel like at all. There was definitely times when certain things happened that were crazy. I wouldn't do it again today. But
Yeah.
to be a man and really feel confident in yourself, I feel like you got to push the envelope in some way or another. And so my envelope is like adrenaline and really pushing it and seeing how close, you know, and that's what makes me soft at home or whatever is, you know, really getting a good beating in the water. Then I could just,
Yeah.
you know, understand traffic or people or be confident in myself because I knew I handled it.
Yeah.
So I would say it's therapy to be out there more than like, you know, like crazy. Because a lot of times I would just sit there and watch the waves and watch the guys tow and just, you know, be out there. And then other times too, that's how I know other guys like Cole. Like I know Cole from being out in the water by ourselves or this and that. I didn't know him before that, or, you know, and then a couple of his friends. So there's, and like Mike Peach and certain people, you just meet them because they're on their same path. Just like that's kind of how I know you. You know what I mean? It's just being at swell places and just whatever, ended up talking and enjoying sessions.
Yeah, there's something about being in the ocean when it's at that size and the energy that, and I even appreciate it more now. It's like I say to myself, even like I mean, big wave. When I say I love big waves, I don't even know if that's a good way to portray it. I love when the ocean is like freaking at its craziest, rawest nature's form, you know, and I love being out there and even if I was to stop surfing big waves tomorrow, I feel like I would want to be out there on the ski. I would want to be able to maybe help do rescues, or maybe I could sneak one on the shoulder, or maybe I can watch. And even now, like the last few years, I've felt more at ease about just getting a couple or getting one instead of having to go out and try and get the biggest, gnarliest wave, which everyone's probably gone through at some stage of their, you know, pursuit of chasing big waves. But for me, it's being out in the ocean and feeling it, and then coming in, everyone's energy is such at a high level, talking about the wipeout you saw, or that guy's wave, or the pickup that guy did, or all that stuff. You know, there's something about you really feel like brothers and sisters. There's something about that connects you out in the water that I've never felt anywhere else, you know?
Okay. And I think that's because you're so connected to nature that you're connected to your friend. And I feel like, you know what I mean? That it's like you can truly connect because your guard's down. You're at nature's mercy. And so you can't really have your ego up or your, you know, I don't know. You got to lose all your culture. You got to lose all the history. Everything that you bring to the table has to be set on the beach because you're dealing with you and the ocean. You know what I mean? Because you're not like a local. You know, you're not going to be like, oh, this is my spot, bro. Just all that, everything, your equipment, all of it gets like, okay, you're just in the zone. And then when zone and somebody else is in the zone and you're all just rushing, you look over and you can't help but just be happy, and like the camaraderie is okay. Or say somebody's in the shore break and their skis rolling, or can't get, what do? The first thing you do is you run over there and help because you're like, oh, he's down, whatever. It's just like, yeah, they're your brothers.
Yeah, your ego gets stripped back. I mean, the ego is the word. I mean, it's so funny because we have the most massive, the big wave surfers have such massive egos, and it's like, but it really does get stripped back, and it's like you're naked, right? It's like you're naked out and you've been stripped down to nothing, and you're in front of the world about to do your thing. And if you're vulnerable, you're better than everyone else, you're very vulnerable, and it only takes one little thing to be out of place, and you are cartwheeling down the face and in a very vulnerable position really fast. And I feel like if those moments, you can probably look back sometimes and go, yeah, I thought I was a little bit better than I was today, or my, you know, I had a little chip on my shoulder today, and Mother Nature has a way to show you who's boss.
Yeah, you know, I feel lucky for that too, because I feel like when you deal with people or at the store or in traffic in certain situations, you actually get to draw from those experiences of you know, and so it makes you a lot humbler when you're not getting your way all the time, you know, because you're like, oh man, I already got my way. Thank God I'm alive. You're like, this is nothing. But people are like, oh, you know, the tension, you see it get to them. So it's interesting. It really helps you in your life, I feel like, just to put yourself in that uncomfortable position and be all vulnerable and then deal with it. It like makes you such a better guy on land.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I want to go back to innovation because you mentioned, you know, the little pad, I mean the little vest you wore, but we can go back. But I'm more interested in the fins because you know, I'd like to hear your take because you are I mean, we're talking four fins here, and if you look at most big wave guns these days, everyone's riding you know, generally they're using those future fin, you know, quads, you know, but you definitely started that revolution. I mean, not just for big waves, just quads in general. You had a big part to do with that. I'd like to hear your thoughts on like how that came about. I got a feeling it had something to do with, I mean, Stretch as well, right? You and Stretch together, is that right?
Well, actually, the big wave stuff did. It started with me and Cole just because I liked twin fins, but I hated it because I couldn't turn them. But I loved how fast it would go. And so my buddy Cole's like, oh, let's make you a four fin. Let's try that. And so I had a board that Bali Joe had made, and it had a bat tail. But anyways, I was like, okay, that sounds cool. Because when I was young, my brother had a Stussy four fin, and we both really liked it. I got it after he had it. So I was like, okay. Anyways, he made this little four fin with a bat tail. But the board worked really, really good in small waves. I was like, whoa, I'd never rode anything like it. It went really fast and turned really hard, and did so I did an air, and I did anyways, and so I rode it for like a month or 2 months, and I was just super stoked. Got a couple more, and then it was coming into Hawaii season, so I got a couple boards that were like 6.6 and like 7.0 just to try them at pipe. Never even seen anything like it, you know. And then rode the 6.5 and just loved it. But that was right at the beginning of winter. So I just started riding Stretch's boards. And I forget the year. It's probably 2004 or 5. And I was like, you know what, Stretch? I'm liking these four fins so much. Oh, because he made me a couple of short boards. And I was like, you know what? I want to surf Mavericks. But I'm like, I want to get a big board like a 9.0 or something. And I want it to be a four fin. Because I didn't think I would ever ride a board bigger than 9.0. You know? Like,
yeah.
Anyways, he's all sure, whatever. And so he made 2 of them. And he made one for Pete Mel as well. Because he's, I'm going to see if Pete likes it. And so he made my board. Anyways, Pete got the board, his board, and he rode it before me. And Pete was just like, blah, 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 blah. And so then I rode my board, and I was like, oh, it's insane. They're great. And so the deal was a four fin, technically, they're not better, they're not worse, they are what they are. But I feel like if you're catching the wave, it lets you in the wave quicker, and then you can engage on your toe edge faster. So for me, I'm just trying to go from point A to point B on a big wave. Like, I just want to kick out nice. I want to get a late drop as late as I can do, technically safe, and then just ride it and kick out. So then when I got the four fin, when I got a wave, I was like, whoa. And I took off faster and I kicked out faster, and that's all. So I just thought, oh, that's nice because it lets you in a little bit, and then it just lets you engage your rail from the top instead of having to go to the bottom. And so I really liked it. Other people really like it when you go in a straight line, like at Jaws. But the point is now people are taking off so late, they're almost going back to thrusters because they want them to drag up the face before it releases. So that's the difference in like evolution. There's nothing that's better, nothing that's worse. One I feel is technically faster because of the fin placement, and the other one might have a more pivotal turning, you know, because of the fin placement, right? A thruster, you might be able to go up and down. So it comes down to personal preference, and it also comes down to what kind of wave you're surfing. So like if you're surfing the right at Jaws, it's a different wave than the left at Jaws. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, not that you want to, I don't know. I'm just using that as a reference more, but.
Yeah.
But I'm nobody to
But
say
if
what's
you,
better.
yeah, I was
I
going to
just
say
like it.
if you look at like what Albie and you know, I think of the guys that are sort of hunting that West Bowl a lot, like specifically like Albie, Kai, like even Tyler Laron. I think they're all still riding quads, and they're sort of, you know, Albie for sure is, you know, at the forefront of basically
Every
taking up off under the lip in the barrel. You know what I mean? So it'd be interesting. I wonder what the percentage is. What are you of guys riding thrusters and quads? You know, out of Jaws. I bet you it's a high percentage is quads.
What do you think about the big fin in the back with the two
Oh,
small
I
ones we're
hate
talking?
it.
You
I
don't.
hated it.
Yeah.
I had some in some guns. I had a really good board from Dennis Pang, and I had a 2+1 setup, like glass ons, and I rode that board. I got a good wave at Todos on that board after that 2007 Mavericks swell where we chased at the Todos, that tow day where you and Cole paddled. And I surfed it at Super Bowl Sunday, Waimea 2005. But I found when it hit max speed at the bottom, the thing would like stop and just go
Goes
over
back.
the handle. It was like someone was yanking me with a lasso, and I was just like, whoa, this is not good. I got to get rid of this, you know. So for me, I went from that to glass on thrusters, and then it took me a while to get to the quads. But then I got to the quads for a long time, but then I went back. Like when I surfed Nazaré, that first contest, I surfed it with thrusters. So, but now I think I'm going to go back to quads. I change.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Nazaré might be a better thruster wave, though. You know what I mean? It's not so much of a run down the face. But you know what's interesting too is the fin size, and then like. So when I got to the four fin setup, it started too with the towing. But when I got to Mavericks, Jeff Clark and those guys, they were on four fins as well, but they came from a different way. And I thought that it was super, like reassuring because I was like, oh, these guys are already on it. And like other people are laughing at me, but I'm like, oh, Jeff Clark, they're in. But anyways, like Richard Schmidt, they swear by the Twinser where it's the little fins in the front with the big fins in the back. And so it's not that anything's better. It's just, I feel like it comes down to board design, tail rocker, tail outline are huge things to do with it. And then the fin placement and the cant or the angle or whatever you call it, the toe. So there's so many variables with all of it that to actually say one works better than other would be incorrect because I feel like every board just has a good formula. And maybe it doesn't have the right formula sometimes. And so you might think, oh, this or oh, that, or because I feel like a good single fin will work good. You know what I mean? But the deal is with the really high speeds at the bottom of the wave, that's when you notice the difference in your fins.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
And another thing to play in right there is your wide point, how wide your board is, because if you have like a little bit wider, thicker board, it'll slow down sooner compared to if it's a little narrower and flatter, it'll kind of like, because I remember some of my older boards would stop like halfway down the face with a bunch of rocker in them and thrusters, and I would get to the bottom and they would just go boom. So
yeah, because you love big boards, right? Because there's certain moments where you've had like 11 sixes, 11 O's. I know that when you went to Belhera, you had that big brown thing. I'm not sure how was that 12 O or 11 6 or certain waves need certain boards, but I've definitely seen you out at Mavericks is not a place where you generally need a giant board as well, but
not on the first
you
reef.
made it work. Yeah,
not on the first reef. Go to the second reef, you do.
Well, I mean? That one I got that year, I was on the 10-10.
Right. And it just was right, huh? Because I actually caught the biggest wave, one of my biggest waves out there when I borrowed Jenny Useldinger's board. She had a 10-6 and I only had a 9-0. And I borrowed it because it broke. And then I caught a wave on her board and it was the biggest wave of my life. And I was like, oh, it's because it's 10-6. Duh, Nathan. I only, you know what I mean? So right there, I ordered 11-foot board.
Yeah, well, I remember Bob Pearson had just shaped me two boards, my first two boards from him, and I had a 910 and a 1010, and it was that we all went out in the boat that day. It was that day that it was pretty raw and second reefing early in the morning, and it was that the boat that went nearly flipped over in the evening, and Healy jumped off. We're all on the boat sliding all over the place, but I was about to jump off the boat, and he goes, "What are you going to ride?" And he was on the boat, Bob Pearson, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to take the 910." He's like, "Why are you taking a knife to a gunfight?" He goes, "Grab the 1010 and go out the back and paddle into one." And so I was like, "Okay, fair enough." So I literally put the fins in the other board, 1010, paddled out, and then got that wave that won the double XL that year. And I was just like, "Well, there you go," But obviously, if it's just focusing on the bowl, maybe not. But if it's capping out the back and it's doing that, then hey, you get a bit bigger board.
That's my point. Because it's like an inside reef, it's like a first reef, and then the second reef. You know what I mean? It's a deep water wave and a shallow water wave, basically.
Well, and then especially on the outer reefs in Oahu too. Like if you've done them enough, like you realize, like you not only want to chase waves, but you want to get the hell away and shoot to the channel and have that paddle power and these waves aren't necessarily coming like Mavericks and Jaws where they're like doing that. They're like sort of moving more open ocean style, like sort of fast, like where you need the extra length to get into those waves, some of those waves.
Whitewater or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah. So you've just do you go back to thrusters at all? Do you go back and forth? I've actually tried a few twin fins because Tassie's riding twin fins. God bless Tassie. And I've ridden the twin fin the last couple of seasons out at Sunset, and when I get in a sweet spot on that thing and I go to turn, the thing nearly throws me off because it goes so fast, So I think again, like you say, if you get someone that knows twin fins, knows how they work, the placement, the outline, like it can work as well.
Well, you look at Rasta and look at how good he surfs on a twin fin, Dave Rostovich.
Yeah.
So it's just like you wouldn't even know, like he's just worked on his fin placement, his tail design, the rocker, everything. He's just got them dialed in. So it's definitely not that they don't work, but it's just like you can't go get a fish that's a twin fin and go surf like he does. His is customly designed, so it fits his surfing perfect. And even like Aquila's boards, those things work. But they're not just a regular twin fin.
Well, and now you got Tomo, Daniel Thompson, that's just making outrageous boards and shapes and designs too, and they all seem to work as well. So.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting.
So I want to. Yeah, it is interesting time, and I want to go to a few pivotal moments that I think stand out for me about Nathan Fletcher's more big wave career, and one was that first cloud break swell. I think it was 2010. Was it 2010? The first one that with you, Bruce, Cole. It's super glassy. You got the pink board.
Oh, that was like 2 weeks
11.
before code.
That's what I'm saying. So that was take us through that swell. I mean, that was when I remember seeing that and just going, oh my God, they may be the most perfect waves I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, actually, Cole called me up like a year and a half before, and he's like, "Nathan, did you know that Tavarua is not private anymore, this and that?" And I was like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "We got to get on the next swell." Anyways, the swell came, but that was the one like Ian Walsh and Lori Towner went over the falls on. Or remember that swell?
Yeah.
I saw that.
Hippo got that wave.
And I was like, "Oh, the waves looked really good." So I was bummed that I missed it. And so that was the first swell when it was open from being private. Now that next one was on the radar. And so I was like, "Oh, I'm going, And so I called up Bruce and I was like, "Man, this is going to, you just don't want the year to end and you miss this swell." Because he's like, "I'm not going to go this and that." And I was like, "Well, this is the best swell, best waves." So we ended up going and I talked him into going. And then what I was thinking in my head was like, okay, I was like, Lori Towner and those guys got that wave. I've been to, Tavarua, this and that. But if you remember during the magazine that came out of the Black Pearl, the Chopo contest, but it was the tow-in footage of John Roseman and Conan Hayes at Cloudbreak, and it was literally 60-foot faces, okay? And so in my head, I was, this is a huge swell. I'm like, I don't go anywhere like for one of these huge, and I started thinking, I'm like, those waves at Lori Counter and that got, those were big, but I could even get way bigger than that, I think.
Yeah.
And so I packed my 10-2 or whatever. And so I took a couple of 6.6, a 7.6, and a 10.2. But then the waves were good, real good. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to ride my big board and sit out there and cruise and catch one of these sets, because you could just see them. And they were coming in, and sure enough, it was just like nothing. I just cruised and waited and just got one of those waves, and it came right to me and kicked out. And then, so then Bruce had broke all his boards and everything, and he was on the boat, and you know, like pretty much it brought me to tears. Like the wave was so good and it was just so amazing, everything. So I was like, oh, you got to try it, you know, try this board, just go out and get one wave, you know. And so then he went out and he got a wave on the same board, didn't come out of the barrel, but he got, you know, the biggest, best backside barrel of his life paddling. And so it was just super memorable. And then Cole got that wave too, right before I got mine. And I don't know, it was just insane. It was unbelievable, because nobody had ever even seen the waves like that there. And then afterwards, I asked the guy a couple years later, I'm all, what's the best, you know, you've ever, and the guy's all, oh, that one day, that's the best Tavarua ever gets, you know, just glassy and 20 feet. So
yeah, I mean that there's those three waves. Your wave that you're standing in on that red board, are just, and I don't know, whatever it is, that pinky red, like with the way that the conditions were, and then Bruce's one where he's holding the rail and it's just, there's not a drop of water out of place, and then Cole's one, it's like the wave of
the decade,
wave of the century. If he makes that thing.
That's the best big wave paddle barrel ever recorded.
Yeah, I mean, sure. And he's like inches away from making that thing, you know, like, and I mean, look, it's sort of like, yeah, tripping over the you know, the goal line, but still that view and how long he was in there and just paddling into that thing. I mean, it was just, those photos blew my mind.
Also, Hippo got that one too. That was really long. It was an inside one, but it was like, oh, he got drained really good.
Yes. He was on like a 6.6 or something.
Yeah, that was, you know, those were life-changing moments for me. That like when I caught that wave, I came home and I said, you know what? That was a lifetime achievement award for me. That, like, more than, you know, like you can go win the double, all that, but to catch a wave like that on the color of board, no vest, just free surfing, like, it was literally like, I told myself, I'll never, ever catch another ride like that. That was the pinnacle of, and then 2 weeks later, I got the double XL Chopo wave, but it wasn't anything like the Tavarua ride for, you know, because you get whipped in, you just get pulled in. It's like, boom, it's over. This is like, you're paddling out, you're sitting, you're waiting, you're going, you're not going. Oh, you know, all these things, and you're looking around. And it's just the whole play of paddling, and then the set coming, and then catching it and riding it. So all those things said, that was, you know, that Tavarua was the wave of my life, and Tahiti was the wave that made my life.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's crazy that swell and then Code Red that makes sense, because obviously the South Pacific was active as hell at that time, and but let's go from like, because sometimes it's hard to go, like you get a really good wave at a session, like, you know, say you're at Jaws. And then, you know, you can chase the Swelter Mavericks. The next day, you jump on a flight that night and surf Mavs and chase it. But there's, you know, you see certain guys, if they have a really good session at Jaws, they're like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to chase at the Mavericks. I'm happy, you know. And I'm sure that probably went through your mind too, right? You've just gone to Tavarua. It's the best wave you've got of your life. You're probably thinking, how can it get any better? But then all of a sudden, this monstrosity of a swell pops up to go to Chopo, and it's like, well, I know I'm not going to paddle now. I've got to pack tow boards and have a jet ski and organize all this. What was the mindset, and like how did you end up getting the chopes like that?
Well, it was funny because I made Bruce go to Tavarua, and then he got that wave. We got those waves. It was just, but then he had to be in Tahiti because they were doing a memorial for Andy at the contest. And so then he's all, oh, you gotta come. And I'm like, oh, whatever, I guess I'll come. But I'm all, you know what, I brought a Della. We stayed in Papiete at the beach, I'm just going to go on a vacation, bring my chick, just relax, enjoy Tahiti, because I'm always kind of stressed going there. And I've caught, whatever. I'm just not going to put too much into it. Didn't bring my toe weight, nothing, just kind of like, oh. And then it was like that day, all of a sudden, he was doing something else, but then it was like driving out to the end of the road from, we got out there like 8:30 or 9 because we left, but I was in a different car. Anyways, super unprepared, super relaxed because of catching that wave, and just told myself, if I even catch any waves in TD, cool. But that morning, I could see the waves coming over the road and stuff, and it was like I'd never seen the swell there. And so then when I get down there, Bruce was nowhere to be found, no jet ski, no nothing, because he had all that lined up. But I just hitchhiked out with, who gave me a ride out? Kamale gave me a ride out. And then I just had to sit, and I swam in the channel for a little bit. And then I got on the one guy's boat. And then Biff, actually, out of all people, he's all, oh, what, you want to get a ride? And I'm all, sure, let's go. And I was really scared because I'd watched a bunch of waves. I'd sat there for an hour already.
Yeah.
And so the first I caught, Biff, he was on Hank's ski. That was the first ski down there, but it didn't go fast enough to catch a wave. So you had to get up and do a couple circles. And then I let go about 100 yards too deep. And so I pulled into a closeout and got pounded. But then Makua's like, what was that? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know. I was just trying to get a wave. Whatever. So Makua borrowed Strider's ski, and then that was the first wave. He whipped me into that thing. Boom, caught it, but didn't even know what it looked like or anything. But he's like, oh, you want to get another one? I was all, hell no. I'm going to the beach. I'm done with that. But then everybody started coming up to me, hugging me, and saying, oh, this was insane, the greatest ride, blah, blah, blah. And so in my head, I was like, that's weird. Why are these people acting this way? And so me and I left, because I'm like, this is weird. Like, people that I look up to and put on a whole nother level, they're like tearing, looking at me, oh, you're alive, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is so, because I couldn't see it. I was on it, right? But it only looked like a half my view. I couldn't see what was around me. And I thought I just caught a wave like everybody else. So the next day I got a text message with a picture of it. And I just could not believe that was me riding that wave, that I ate it on it, that I was alive. I just couldn't believe any of it. And it was just super weird. I didn't go back out to the end of the road. I only caught 2 waves on the whole trip.
So what was that? The photo, was it that? So what happened? Because like a lot of the photos that they like to show is, especially I think Billman shot, where you're sort of coming over the foam ball, or the foam ball is catching you as you're wheeling on the back, right?
I was in the foam ball, but I didn't bring my toe weight because I was sick of traveling with this big 12-pound dive weight. So I'm all, you know what?
Yeah.
I've surfed on my toe board without a weight. I'm just going to go to Chopo. It's all smooth. But anyways, there was so much suction. It was sucking me back like this. And so what I was trying to do was like hop out to like get a new line to set myself back down. But as I was in the air, all I could think about was that stupid weight that I left at home because I was too lazy to travel with it. And
do you think that wave was makeable with that weight? Do you think with the weight you're ahead of the foam ball enough that you're not bunny hopping?
You think if your board's 6 pounds or 18 pounds, you got a better chance with an 18 pounds or 6 pound board?
Yeah, guaranteed.
Yeah. I'll never know. I'll tell you that. I've went over it frontwards, backwards. It's all good. It wasn't meant to be.
And what was take us through what the wipeout was like, because I mean that just falling in that place.
The wipeout was like getting ripped limb from limb, as bad as it could be for 20 seconds straight, and then somehow I came up instead of down, and I just feel like I fell in front of where the real lip, where it bounces. So I fell with a foam ball like that. So I was up on this part, where if I would have been before, it would have been bam, and it would put me straight to the reef. But I got far enough down the line where I caught the push of the foam ball. But then I was in that, and then it kind of just shot me up. But for 12 to 15, when I came up, all I could do was just, I couldn't believe my head was on my, and I came up and grabbed my head, and my spine and neck were just really hot and tingly, like burning sensation from the base of my spine all the way to the top of my head. But I was just like, what? My head was on. I was like, oh. And I was like, oh, my arms. I was like, yes, done. Go home.
Oh man, I mean, no wonder, man. There's the volume and pressure and velocity of that the amount of water in that wave on that shallow of a reef. It's a miracle, right? Like you see, like that day, and you just go, how did someone not like?
Would I do it again? No.
Well, because you didn't know, right? That's the beauty of it.
Right.
It's just like you don't know what you. Oh my god! And then I wanted to ask one other question, because this one, I don't think I've never really talked to you about this, but that trip in Chile.
Yeah.
I think was it Russo, Ramon, and Cole again? Was it you guys?
It was Cole and Russo. We left Ramon and those guys. Yeah.
Okay. So, because that was a pretty heavy one for you too, right? And I don't think that story has been told like that much to a point. But I'd like to. I know sort of what happened, but I'd like to get a better grasp of what happened that day.
Like you were saying, like about traveling and stuff and hitting things. What we did was we hit the swell, and then we tried to go get on the plane and fly and then get the next day. And I never do that because you're too tired. So I did it because we're on this trip and we're following our fearless leader, Cole. Blah, blah, blah. So that's what happened. And then we saw these perfect waves. We got ahead of ourselves. Not ahead of ourselves. We just wanted to surf. But we hadn't done any of the recon to know what it was like. We had no safety, no jet skis, no idea of anything, but we could just see spitting waves from the beach. And so we couldn't get out to this island because it was all closed, because the Pongas, the governor, whatever, the mayor wouldn't let the little village, he wouldn't let us go out. So we couldn't go out till 3 p.m. And so we never went onto the beach to see what the wave even looked like. We just analyzed it from the back. And it looked like it was breaking kind of close to rocks, but it was makeable. It was peeling around the rocks. But it was big surf, 20 feet, 25 feet. So Cole caught one. I caught one. Then we caught one together. And then he caught another one. And it was a pretty big set. And then I caught one. And the one I caught was like the biggest wave of the set, but we hadn't seen it, but a new boil popped up in the wave. So as I was riding down the face, now the wave broke past me because it was like a bigger set. So it was a new boil we hadn't seen. So I straighten off, and I got a 12-foot board and a big leash. Straighten off, and I pull my suit, whatever. And there's big rocks on the beach, sticking 20 feet, 30 feet, 10 feet out of the water all over. It's a big rock point. And at the end of the wave, the wave goes into the rocks. So I ride the wave, and now I fall off, and boom, I pull my wetsuit. I come up, and I look, and my nose is about 5 feet from these huge rocks that are sticking bigger than Waimea rocks, okay?
Wow.
Like rocks, like Punta Lobos or whatever, huge rock, not that big, but real jagged, big rocks. And my board is real close to them, and I'm getting sucked towards them. And I look in front of me the other way out to the ocean, and there's a wave where there's a 35-foot tall whitewater coming at me, a 20-foot wave that broke. And now the water's as big as a Waimea whitewater. And I look, and I'm, real close to these. So all I could do was take off my leash, and I go through these rocks, boom, boom, boom. But I didn't know when the water goes into tight rocks, into tight areas. So I get ping pong through the rocks. Now I'm in these areas where there's whirlpools, and the water is draining and sucking, and I have my chute pulled. But when the water's in tight area, it whirlpools and pushes. So even though I had my chute pulled, I couldn't get to the surface, and I would be right there. I could see the light. And then another whitewater would go over, boom, and then I'd go through more rocks, boom. But because I didn't sleep that well, and I had hit my head super hard on the rocks and hit my ribs and everything. Well, now I'm drowning and I'm still in the rocks. Now I'm in another whirlpool getting pushed down. So now I could see everything that's happening. I could see the boat. I could see Cole. I could see the point. I could see everything that's happening in my life. And Adela was at home pregnant with Laser.
Wow.
I could see Laser in the ultrasound, just whoom. And then I could see it all happening. And then I could see Scion. And I could see the whole situation, the biggest traumatic thing in my life. And so right there, I told myself I needed to just relax and stay calm, that I'm stronger than this. And I just need to go with it, and I'll be okay, because I don't want to put Cole and Russo and these guys through what I went through with Scion. But I could see all happening right here, okay? And so then Cole was paddling out when I fell on the wave. When I took my leash off on the next wave, my board hit the rocks and flew 50, 20 feet in the air, whatever. Well, these guys haven't seen me in 5 waves, 6 waves, whatever it is, however long I'm underwater. Now I truly give up and surrender and go limp and just go unconscious and go through the rocks. Boom, boom, boom. Give up. And somehow, I don't know how, but all of a sudden I just opened my eyes and I was just on a rock, like in a safe little area where the water subsided and left me.
Wow.
And so then I couldn't move and I couldn't do anything. And I was so tired. All I could see, like, all I wanted to do was tell those guys I was okay, but I couldn't, and so it took me like 2 minutes or a couple minutes to be able to even move my body from paralyzed, because I was wanting it so bad to let them know, because they didn't know there, and I knew they were frantic.
Yeah.
And then I got on the rocks and I waved to them, and they came around to the other side, and I had to walk about a mile over this island, or a mile and a half. And they came to me and got me, and then and it was just a really trippy experience, because of all the stuff that happened, what I was doing in my livelihood. And then that wasn't enough for me to really understand. So then she was 5 months pregnant, came home, moved to Hawaii. And then on that big day, we went and surfed alligators, and she was 8 months pregnant. And then Kirk Passmore drowned.
I was out there with you that day.
I know. And that was the same day we had the baby, that day. And so after that, I had some sort of epiphany of like all these things, myself dying, people around me dying, my children being born. And it was just all these things was a good incidents for me to look at my life, how lucky I was, everything I've been through, Chopo, drugs, all of it. And it was the first time where I was ever like, okay, you know what? I'm alive. I'm thankful. And now I'm here. And so it was a very beginning of a turning point of me being comfortable with who I am.
Wow. That's an incredible story, man. Thanks for sharing that. That was, I'd heard like bits and pieces, but that's a whole nother level of what I thought. And I think this is a great, I want to ask this question. It seems like probably a silly question, but I think people, after hearing that story, right, you hear all that stuff that you've gone through, the Scion and everything, all the drama and the feelings, and it's like, why? Like, you still surf big waves, like, and it's just like, what is it? What's that? What is it that makes you still want to do that? You go through all that stuff, and then the next swell comes along, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go surf these big waves, and it's just like, I think the general public always ask, well, why? What is it? What is it that makes you want to do that?
Because when I look in the mirror, I say, that's who I am. Sorry.
Yeah. It's in your blood. It's in your DNA. There's some things that you just can't. You can change things. You can change your path, but there's some things that are deep down in your DNA that when you truly believe you're born to do something, or you're put on this earth to do something, then you wouldn't be doing yourself or your family. You'd be doing a disservice by not following it.
And you know what's interesting by saying all that? Because that is who I am. That's why I was put on this earth. And then to see what I just told you, that was the first time I could ever be okay with who I am. Before that, I was like always trying to find it, always trying to find the rush, the wave, the this, the that. But truly, it was like after that and having the kids and almost everything was like, oh, that's who I am. That's what I had to go through to become this person. And that's what makes me happy. That doesn't mean I got to do this forever. That's just one step to becoming the final man who you become. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
with that, you never even evolve into anything. And so it's like that carries on into your everyday life. So it's like, oh, all those experiences carry on into how you take care of your kid. And that becomes your most important experience. And then how you take care of your kid is going to become how he cares for his life and what he does. And then you're going to be, you know what I mean? And then you're going to be like relaxing as a grandfather. How did I do? And you're going to watch your success run around in front of you. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, I think that is the absolute perfect story to end the podcast. But I do have a couple of questions. We do at the end of each podcast, I like to ask 5 questions to the guys and girls, and you can answer as in depth or one word, however you want to answer it, Nathan. But question number 1 is, what's the best big wave in the world?
Oh man, do I got to tell you?
Yeah. Well, no. If it's somewhere that hasn't been,
I'm gonna go with Jaws. Jaws is the best big wave for sure. It's Thunderdome.
Yeah. The heaviest, scariest big wave in the world.
I would have to say, what's that place like? The Right? Maybe those guys just closeouts, underground closeouts, no exit. I don't know. I heard Nazaré, you get 3-wave hold downs with your vest pulled. So I would say Chopo is definitely, pound for pound, one of the most dangerous, consequential ship sterns.
Yeah. Yeah. They've all got their nuances. The most underrated big wave in the world.
The most underrated big wave in the world. Probably Waimea Bay.
I like that. Yeah, it's been left in the dust a little bit, right, since Jaws and everything. So,
and they haven't even went left, really. You know what I mean? It's like barely tapped in.
Yeah. And then there's what's one big wave that you haven't surfed that you'd like to tick off the bucket list?
Well, anywhere from, like Santa Cruz County to Oregon border.
Yeah.
There's
say no more.
Probably more. There might be more than one.
Yeah. And then the next frontier. This is probably the same answer. Yeah, I think about where's the next, like Nazaré just burst onto the scene, right? And it's like, I'm just wondering where the next continent or where that next spot is going to be, because I know there's so much coastline around, but I'm curious to get the Morocco,
isn't it? I don't know.
Well, swells hit Portugal, right? They roll down that way, so I'm sure there is.
Those outer reefs I've seen. I don't know.
Yeah, cool, mate. All right, Nathan. Well, hey, thank you.
Somebody to sponsor us a trip, we'll go.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone out there wants to sponsor us a trip to Morocco, we're down.
Yeah. Great caddy.
Yeah. All right, Nate. Hey, thanks for giving us your time. I know you're busy with the kids and everything, but I appreciate it. It was a great chat, and I'll see you around the North Shore, my man.
Thank you, Jamie. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for everything, too. Later.
Bye. See ya.